Hey guys, welcome to our show with a new name. It's called Racing Extra. G'day Aaron.
How are you, Matty?
Oh, I'm not too bad. You like the new name?
I like the new name. It's nice to have it.
Not the gun show anymore?
No, sorry to my little faithful followers on Twitter.
Yeah, no gun show. It's called Racing Extra. Every Wednesday. We just did our feature interview. It's with James Cummings this week, and he was awesome, wasn't he?
Yeah, it was good. It was good to get an insight on his take on how he sees things and on the changeover from when he started from working for Bart. Now he's in the gun seat driving the show. So.
Yeah, I think you'll love James's enthusiasm for racing. He just has a genuine love for it, which is great to see. It's carried on. And he caught up with Dallas this morning for the track work review.
Yeah, it was an interesting meeting, and we'll hopefully see some results in the Chelmsford meeting back here in 2 weeks' time.
And Nick Ashman this morning. How was Nick?
Yeah, Nick was all up and about after his great Speak Fondly result.
Yeah, exactly.
Something he'd been in the pipeline for about 2 months, and it was something that was so surprising with that. Was there such a big spruik from like people like Nick, the stable.
Yeah.
And it was still $6. Like you're still able to get $6-7. So it was mind-boggling for me. But
a bit mind-boggling, but that was a little tip for the people that have been watching this show, because
I think Nick was happy. He got on and he got the good prize. So.
Yeah, and and our feature, I suppose the sponsor of this week's show is the Memsey tournament this week with Top Better. It's $550 buy-in. Unless you've won entry into a prior. So look, they're looking at about a $10,000 to $15,000 jackpot potentially.
Well, I think you're playing for second, as Glenn's already playing first, in Glenn's opinion.
Yeah, Glenn got his eye in on last Saturday with a little touch of the Sydney tournament. But Memsey Day, it's on. Get your mates together, $550 buy-in, and hopefully you can walk away with about $10K or something.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to it, and I'm looking forward to seeing it build up right into the Spring Carnival, because I think we could potentially have some really big tournaments moving into the spring. Yep.
All right, now let's throw to our interview that you did this morning with Nick.
Beautiful. Down at another Royal Randwick Trackwork edition with Nick Ashman.
Bit frosty.
Very frosty, but it's all worth it when you find the Speak Fondly.
Oh, something, punters. Yeah, no, that was really good, because that was probably a couple of months in work, that one, or maybe not quite that long, a month or 6 weeks, waiting for it to come out, and maybe at $6 on the day.
Just to show if you're patient, you can reap the rewards in this game.
Yep, just got to stay away from the dogs and the trots at night, and
those
algorithms don't do you any favours. But bit frosty out here this morning. Smaller team for Gay working this morning. She's down in Melbourne. I think a few horses will be galloping tomorrow, and I'll probably come out here tomorrow, which is a bit unorthodox for my schedule.
Yep.
But keen to find a few more winners going forward off the back of a good weekend last Saturday. So just to bring us up to speed, Aaron, Vancouver and Armandport galloped last Saturday morning.
Yep.
I've sort of already written something in the paper, but around 36 last, 610.90, gave her a length and a half start. And Tommy was probably holding him up on the line so it didn't embarrass the mare too much.
Okay.
And he's run 10.9 for the last 200. So I reckon he probably could have gone 10.6, 10.7, and that's airborne flying.
Yeah, he's low flying at the moment.
I'll say now, I don't think they'll beat him in the Golden Nose. If they do, I'll be very, very surprised.
We've heard it here first.
Very surprised. Also last Saturday morning, River Wild. Also debuted at Kembla on the 15th of August for Gay, owned by Coolmore. I think he's a fairly well-bred horse, as you would expect. Won by 6 in the 1300 metre race down there. He goes to the benchmark 72 on Saturday, and he galloped last Saturday morning 34.4 and 11.2. It was an exceptional gallop. It was the fastest 600 in the morning on the dirt, that is.
Yep.
Whereas Vancouver was on the course preparation. But he looks like a proper racehorse, stakes horse, coming through the grades, only having his second start, but don't be perturbed by the fact that he kicked off at Kimber. I think he's a proper horse. So.
Was he one that showed a lot in track work before he raced?
Yeah, he's shown a little bit in track work. I think his last or second last gallop was good.
Yep.
But he's obviously been a fairly slow maturing type, because Gay's obviously pretty keen to get her horses up and running at 2. Yes. So if you don't see him running until he's just turned 3, you know he's needed time.
Yeah.
I think he might end up being, I don't know if he'll get 2,000, but he might end up being a Spring Champion Stakes horse.
Okay.
Maybe even a Victoria Derby, that type of thing.
Okay.
But he'll be hard to beat on Saturday. Ronnie's horse, Let's Make It Rain.
Yep.
I didn't get the clock on it this morning, but he looks like he's improved a fair bit.
Yeah.
And he's got that Voilier type form, which, you know, is good enough, I think, to be winning a benchmark 72.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think Randwick will dominate that benchmark 72 race on Saturday. That's probably not giving up a lot though.
Yeah.
Punters might want a feature tip, but Raphael's Cap, I think, is the one, and Red Zell from Randwick going to the front of the Rose.
Yes, Red Zell was one, obviously, that real impressive barrier trial to the eye. But he got to the race, he's still quite, I thought, quite fat.
Yeah.
Has he come on a lot from the run?
I've only seen him once, which was last Thursday.
Yep.
He gets his horses out pretty early, so I don't get the clock on too many of the Snowden horses. He looked like he had a bid, but I couldn't tell too much. You blokes will know more on Saturday. It's probably more of a mountain yard tip rather than something for me, I'd say.
Yeah. Okay.
What else we got? This Bohemian Lily, remember her?
Yes.
The
Oaks Bound filly.
Oaks Bound filly. She got a freakish accident. She was in the Walker, and someone did something up in Queensland, and she was scratched on the morning of the Oaks or the day before or something. I think, from memory, a couple of days before.
Yeah, I think a day out or something.
She would have been real hard to beat. I know Rex was super impressive.
Yeah.
But I think it would have been a very different race with Bohemian Lily in it. She's going really, really well. She beat up Armand Paul last week in a gallop. Poor old Armand Paul was just coughing.
Yeah, just coughing. One thing with Armand Paul, her first trial was quite impressive, I found. I think it was the second where she kind of looked a lot more dour.
Yeah. Yeah, I had it pegged as being a 2,000 metre horse this prep.
Was Game maybe looking for further? Like,
maybe, but you'd still expect it to work. Yeah. Look, I don't know. Look, to be fair, like last Saturday, when I was clocking her in Vancouver, I've gone, oh gee, she's not going any good. And then I've looked down at the time and gone, oh well, she's probably run 11.1, 11.2 for the last furlong.
And for a man to stay, it's probably...
It's not about time.
Yeah.
You know, she's just getting beaten up by a real rock star colt. Whereas, and then, Bohemian Lily out-bowled her the other week. That was probably more of a concern.
Yeah.
Just because of the style of the work. But she's going along really good, this Bohemian Lily. I wouldn't be surprised if she won a couple of handy races this spring. I don't know where she's going to resume or anything. Ming, we saw her gallop the other day.
Yep.
She's just flying in track work. Centre Pivot had a nice gallop this morning. Regatta Rebel, the Greg Holloway's horse. Remember?
Yes. Ran second.
2-year-old in the kindergarten, was it?
Yes.
I think it was the
She
kindergarten.
ran second in the race. Red Zell ran third.
That's the one. It went to Queensland and was a bit disappointing in Gold Coast, I think, in that Hollindale Stakes Day race.
I was on.
Yeah, I was on it too. Anyway, what do? Just go around again. Check out the dogs that night. It had a three-way gallop. Almost came out wrong. with a recurring dream, which is kind of ironic. And have fun. 1:19, 36, 1:11.9. Looks good.
Looks good.
Yeah, always just lacked a bit of race sense in that first prep.
She won a wild, didn't she, Ming? That's one of those.
Ming, that was Ming. I'm talking about Regatta Rebel.
Oh, Regatta Rebel.
Yeah, Regatta Rebel. Yeah, I still wouldn't be surprised if it's another 6 months away.
Okay.
But it's definitely come back a better horse. Another one to keep an eye on, a little thing called Alnada. I haven't even put it in. I've left my phone at home. I haven't heard of the horse, so I can't think of it. I don't know if it's a 2-year-old or a 3-year-old. I've put my hands up now and say I've got no idea. I haven't been able to check it on my phone. I watched it gallop this morning. I thought it's a half-decent horse, this one. So I'm going to go home and put its name into Racing New South Wales, have a look and see what it's about, because I think it's a horse to have a look at.
Oh, it's impressive from the track.
Yeah. What else we got? Now, look, probably River Wild's the best for Saturday, I'd say.
Best for Saturday. What about Porter? Any thoughts on Porter's run?
I thought it was outstanding.
Yeah,
outstanding run, and he'll improve off that. He's not a 1,400 metre horse. If he was more forward, I think I wrote and told you guys last week, he was more forward this time, first up, than he was last time.
Yeah, definitely. I think he's a lot more, and this was the thing, everyone kept saying he's done so much work, he's running good time, and he's working all this other thing. But I think he's a lot more dour now, because she's getting ready for that next play. Yeah,
and look, he's right on track. I'd be surprised if he didn't win either Chelmsford or the George Main, whichever way they go with him. I'm assuming they're going to go to both those races. I don't know. They might duck down from Underwood or something like that. I haven't checked out the timing of all those races, but I'd be surprised if he didn't win a race before he got the Cox Plate, the way he's going. I think he's just a little bit further ahead than some other horses. Yeah. I think that should pave the way for him to win either second up or third up. And look, he got beaten by probably one of the best mares in Australia in Royal Descent. People labelled her a non-winner, but geez, I don't think she knew that she lost the Epsom last year.
No, I don't think she did either.
What else we got?
Any news from around the tracks?
Oh, look, no, not really. All the news is already
than our good old friend BZ just getting an old lathering for just about nothing.
Yeah, look, I won't comment on that, but he'll have his chance to have his say. Just hope that the right decision's made there. But anyway, other than that,
not too much going on. I think it's a pretty quiet weekend this week. We've got the one run of the Rose and then a lot of benchmark racing. I think we kick off again from Chelmsford back here.
Yeah, Chelmsford would be a really good race again. It always is the Chelmsford and the Warwick Stakes pretty much.
It's going to be a one crack of a race because I know I'm pretty sure Hartnell's going in the first start.
Yeah. And there's
some rocking and rolling.
There's a couple going there. Hartnell, obviously, he looks like he could be the next big thing in Australian racing, really, the way he trialled and stuff. Want to see him do it on race day, though.
Yeah. Like he should go have been close to being undefeated in Australia, really. Like he should have beaten Nick Thumber first start.
Yeah.
No contributor. He should have beaten contributor that first start. He was as dead as a doornail.
Yeah. And maybe the 3,200 metres of the Sydney Cup was, in hindsight, the wrong decision. You can't bag them for having a crack at it. They wanted to know what the horse had, and look, I think he's nominated for the Melbourne Cup, isn't he? Or he will be.
I think so. It's something that I think the Dolphins always wanted to win.
Yeah, he might have just been at the end of his prep that first time, and he sort of went a bit keen in the run and stuff like that, which is quite often a sign of a horse that just wants to get the race over and done with.
Well, I think he ran so well first start in that shorter distance race to suggest that he was going to be too sharp for a second turn.
Yeah. So anyway, it'll be interesting to see what happens. Who shot the Barman's back? I thought his preparation in the autumn was the best I've seen from him, and he might be in for a really good prep. While he has a habit of just improving horses as they get older. So
I've been thinking the exact same thing. Really over the impressive trials and the great performed Celtic Princess Day.
Yeah, it was great to see him back at the races on Saturday. I thought he looked better than I've ever seen him look, sort of going into a first up run. So he is hoping. We've got half a thought of that Lavarza Long Black. I think they call it something different now, the Victoria Plate, the 2,800 metre race on Melbourne Cup Day.
Yep.
So the headline will be, Fame Game or whatever wins the Melbourne Cup, but the real victory.
Something for Mr. Asher.
Yeah, look, it's just something to have an interest in anyway.
Yeah, exactly. All right, if you want Nick's tips, onetofollow.com.au, and you'll find a few speak fondlies for the carnival.
Well, let's hope so. Anyway, it was a good day last Saturday. See if we can keep it up.
Yes, build the momentum into the spring. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, that was Nick Ashman, and look, he's always entertaining, Nick, anyway, put it that way.
It's an entertaining. You need to be entertaining at that time of the morning. And next week, the three of us will be sitting down doing our little preview of the feature races going to the carnival.
Yeah, that's right. We had plenty of people watch the last one.
Yeah, through the autumn. I think we found a few of the key winners early at some good prices, so hopefully we can highlight them and fun little bankroll going into the spring.
Well, let's talk about some of the results on the weekend, and look, the Pro Bet Alive is something we built up all week, and we had a great day both in Sydney and particularly Melbourne was a great day.
Yeah, Pro Bet Alive, I think we found the key to it. We've got the right people on board now, and I think
John Walter with his Sydney set and all those people that bought his tips got into the chat room for free, and look, John had a pretty fair day, but just the buzz and the atmosphere and the crowd in the chat room was awesome. So join it again this week. If you haven't had a look at Pro Bet Alive, it's $99 for the week, and you get Darren Potter's set in Melbourne, who is killing it, and also John Walter, who is a gun, I can tell you that much.
Yeah, I look forward to seeing how it goes through the spring.
Yeah, look, some of the other results. The Phantom had a good week in Melbourne. It was a bit of a punter's day in Melbourne, I'd like to think. Yourself, what do you say, average?
Oh, look, I ticked a small profit.
Yeah, small profit. Tip
size, yes, and it would have been a big profit.
Yeah.
Being certain jockeys rode their horses properly, but those things happen.
Those things happen. The Glenstar,
That's racing.
The Glenstar had a bit more luck. I think he tipped 3 winners out of the 5 races he suggested playing in. And look, plenty of good results across the board on the day.
Well, like, we've launched a fair few new products.
We
I think we've
no more.
There's been a few, but one thing that always seems to happen with the new products, you always seem to just have no luck go your first 2 weeks. But one thing I think we've been pretty lucky, a lot of these new products have gone off with a bang. They've
gone off very well. So grab one of them for this week, and we'll be ready to roll. Our next thing we're going to do is throw to our feature interview, which was James Cummings, and as he said before, he loves racing. He gave us a good sight, a little bit of chat about Bart and the changeover, but just some really good insights for the punters.
There's good insight from a young trainer and his prospects and where he sees racing going and how he sees it. It'd be good to hopefully get some more young people in racing.
We will. Here's James. All right, welcome to our feature interview for this week, and it's James Cummings. James, welcome.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for stopping by.
That's a pleasure. And look, we just happen to be positioned in front of quite a bit of silverware and some gold and some nice scotch.
The scotch.
I promise you, they're recent trophies.
Well done.
Actually, you know what they are, so I'm not going to take a bit of credit away. The stable's been working hard.
Yeah.
Oh, beautiful. Good. And winner today, Maiden.
Yeah, we had a Bellisbury filly on debut for Goree. Been training the filly at the farm. It's only been at Randwick for about a month.
Yeah.
And she's a half-sister to Ruling Dynasty, who just managed to keep, after a very big offer to the owners to be taken to Hong Kong for a potential Hong Kong derby. So good to keep a promising horse like him in the stable, because if you keep losing those up-and-coming horses, you know, you'll be left with nothing. So.
You just mentioned the farm. Like, tell the punters at home how you guys work out what's here at Randwick and what's at the farm.
Yeah. So look, we have a pre-training and full training establishment at Goree, and they breed probably, they've got nearly 70 mares. Okay. They probably only try and race about 40 or 35 of them, you know, out of that their foal crop. And I'm sort of estimating with figures here, because it does change every year, and it could even change again. But you can imagine the costs involved in having so many and having them with city trainers. And one of the things they've been really good at over the years is finding a top line horse from any stallion or from any bloodline, and even though they have excellent bloodlines, they're always generating new ones. So one of the things I attribute that to, apart from the fact they have a really top farm to grow horses at, they've got really good firm ground, big paddocks, paddocks in hills where horses can really develop and mature, unlike, you know, that image you could get of like a chicken farm where horses are really bundled into a small space. Smaller. Flat ground, you know, sometimes it's swampland, and they just do their best, grain fed their whole lives, and that they don't really develop the bone structures and the necessary muscle and conditioning that they should as natural horses should.
Yeah.
So that would be the first thing they do really well. But the second thing they've always really done very well is not saved any costs on horses. Okay. Even if they're bred by unfashionable stallions or from poor bloodlines, and that has enabled them to get horses like. They had a horse that was named after a priest that Friedman trained. Okay. That was by like a 2-bob stallion, and they won a Group 1 in Brisbane with the horse. He ended up being a middle distance weight for age star, you know, and part of that's attributed to the fact that they still send the horse to Friedman and they didn't want to cut on the costs. Yeah. But what they're trying to do now is they're trying to focus that quality and keep it at the farm so that they can create a system that is you know, economically viable, and it seems to be working so far. You know, we've had some first up winners from trained off the farm, like Who's Gorgeous won on debut as a 2-year-old. We had the 3-year-old filly Think Aloud won at Wyong first up. Right. She didn't beat much of a field, but she wouldn't have gone any better had she been at Randwick 12 weeks, and that's what it takes to get a horse fit here, you know. And that horse in a similar vein. So hopefully that horse, Ocean Tempest, being a young filly, can progress and get to a good race this season as a spring 3-year-old. But you know, we know that's a big jump to take, but she's capable of it, and her win was impressive, and she wasn't comfortable on a heavy 10. Yeah. Not many horses can debut on a heavy 10 and get away with it.
Yeah. That's one thing I notice. I seem to land on the Goree horses a lot because I do like types, and I always find they are really big, strong, athletic types. But in saying that, a lot of those big, strong athletic types don't seem like wet tracks either.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I believe that Gory do try to breed to a type of horse. You know, my grandfather and Duncan Ramage, who was bloodstock agent for many years, have bought a certain type of horse that's been even bigger than that. They've always tried to buy that Adonis, the So You Think and the Saintly, and that's the horse they're going for. But when you get it wrong, you get it really wrong, because the horse is a boat, and they're just legless on wet tracks. You know, you think of a horse like Kuta Kalari, you know, and in his prime, he's racing at 600 kilos.
Yeah.
But you run him at Randwick on a wet track, he can't pick his feet up. You know, it's hopeless.
Yeah.
And of course, that's not everything. You know, a lot of it's got to do with the mechanics of their stride and the fact that Rafael Nadal's better on clay than Roger Federer's better on grass. You know, so you've got to keep that in mind. But I think the Gory horses, they do try to breed to a type, and they do tend to get like a very athletic, very sort of middle of the road, racier, sprinter type horse, because they breed to fast families, fast stallions.
So on type, when you're looking at your Gory horses, some of the horses you train for obviously private owners, do you train them different?
Yeah, we do. Like, we try to train them all very differently and keep it simple at the same time. You know, so that you try and have your 8 to 10 exercise routines and keep it as consistent as you can to achieve consistency on the track as they progress. Sometimes up in distance, sometimes remaining the same, but we try to train everything individually and feed everything individually. But certainly, I'm not training a filly like Tempt Me Not the same way I'm training a ruling dynasty. You know, so there's from the same farm, but two inherently very different horses that need to be prepared differently, I would imagine, and that's what we're confident is the right thing to do.
Okay. Well, let's talk about obviously Bart has sort of stepped away slowly from the stable here at Randwick. When has that transition? How long has that transition been happening for? And are you sort of comfortable with where it's at? I suppose it's been how long has it been?
Yeah, so we've been training since 1st August 2013.
Yeah.
As a partnership.
Yeah. So
that's where Bart sort of really took a step away. I sat down and applied for my license with Greg Rudolph, and licensing in Racing New South Wales. So they were good enough to grant me a license, even though I might not have been as wise in years as I could have been. But what I've been able to earn and privileged to earn is years of being at the forefront of a stable with 60 horses in work that had great bloodstock coming through. Being at the coalface, doing trot ups every morning, clocking horses with my grandfather or without him even over my shoulder. Sitting in his very office that's been a little bit revamped since he was at the helm. Behind the Venetian blinds, I've since gotten rid of the Venetian blinds, opened it up a bit. The thing I sometimes have taken for granted, that since I can look back and I can appreciate what privilege I was in, is that I sit here every afternoon and we do the track work for the next morning together. And it didn't matter whether we're trying to prepare, a breeze up who ended up being a Class 2 horse, or we had Dariana coming through the stables, who's beating the boys in a Frank Packer plate en route to winning a Queensland Derby, or whether we had So You Think that jumped from the 1400 Ming Dynasty first up to the Gloaming 2 weeks later, 1800, and just killed them. Really good horse. Having that ability to watch that horse progress, be in here, decide what we're feeding him, decide the way we're working him, go through the ins and outs of jockeys and why we use certain jockeys or why we decide to change, and that's something that you can't get grafting.
No.
And as much as I respect the people that have come through in that way, that's a different way. That's a different thing that you learn. Like you couldn't bottle what I've been able to learn in that time and give it away. You couldn't sell it, because I was put in a position even with Bart when he was not here and his health was deteriorating, that if he didn't ring me up and get me to do exactly what he wanted, or tell me exactly what he knew I needed to know, then it was going to be to the detriment of all of us. And at the time, we had pretty serious animals in the stable. Like in that time, we've gone through Latin News, Rock Classic, Dariana, So You Think. We've had Roman Emperor, LA Wonder, Norzita. So the list is pretty bit of a who's who we've had in the last 10 years at Leyland Lodge, you know. So I've been really lucky in that way. But from about Norzita's 3-year-old season, 2 and 3-year-old season, Bart was probably not able to get to the track as much as any other trainer that had 60 horses in work.
Yeah. And
that's not to say he wasn't still doing a great job. I still firmly believe that there's a lot to be said for an ivory tower trainer, you know.
Yeah.
There's a lot of ivory tower trainers in the country that do a lot better than the hands-on trainers.
Yeah.
And they have the ability to step back and to think things through without getting emotional and without falling in love with their horses.
Yeah.
And,
Right.
And I think that's a critical element in some ways to keep in mind. And it's also a good way to remain confident about what you're doing, and to not lose confidence because for whatever reason you might be influenced on any given day. So there are a couple of things that I've noticed over the years, and that's probably the way.
Just that falling in love comment you just made. Like you don't hear other trainers admit that, but as a lot of punters sort of would see them on TV thinking that every horse is a superstar and stuff. It seems like you've got a great. Of course, you've seen the good ones. Yeah. You also know where the next level is. Yeah. But you're also respecting that and placing it.
Yeah, and I think that's a really easy trap to fall into, and I think that can really handicap you.
Yeah.
And I was even like a lot of this stuff dawns on me, after the fact.
Yeah.
In many ways. And John Peatfield, who does a lot of vet work with some of our clients, he came through and he's always looking at the gory horses, and every so often we trot all the gory horses up like we did this morning, and we go through them. And his comment to me about Hello Crown was to congratulate me because most young trainers, when they get a horse that good, they'll go soft on the horse, and he won't perform.
Yep.
And you know what? It wouldn't have been something I thought about, but when I reflected back on it, every time that horse stepped out for a gallop, there's a risk of breakdown. Every time we run that horse, there's a risk of injury. Everything we do with that horse, and this is a seriously, the horse is worth more than $10 million. And if you have that in mind, it's staggering.
Yeah, it's very staggering.
You'd never drive your car if you had a $10 million car,
that's
would
right.
you?
You would never let it out of your sight.
Yeah.
You'd have the baby monitor on its box every night, and you just would drive yourself mad doing it. So that's something that confidence that Bart had about his horses, big or small, fast or slow, that confidence that he had is one of the things that definitely has to be setting him apart from trainers that he's competed against for the last 60 years.
That was one thing I did notice about the horse when it came back for its last prep, and it didn't start favourite a few times, but he was wound up from day dot. So you did have him forward. He was probably more forward than a lot of the horses, but he also held his condition. He never tapered off.
Well, we went and saw him at the farm on the weekend. The stallion parades were over the weekend, so we got the opportunity to see some good horses that have come through the stable, like Eurozone. He's at Newgate Farm.
Okay.
Hello Crown is at Darley now, and so you think at Cornwall, that's pretty lucky that we're in that position where we can go to the Hunt of Hay, and there's 3 really good colts that are serving mares every season, and he's put on like 70 kilos now that he's become 4. He's turned 4, and he's let down, and they've got him on a different diet. And he's out there. He's in the next paddock of shooting to win. They're probably reflecting on some of their battles over the years, But it's a different thing when they're letting down on a stud farm and than when they're in work. And I know myself the difference it makes. When a horse does turn 4 from that 3-year-old season, they do bulk up a lot more.
Right.
So there's probably runs and races that got away from us there with him, but at the same time, from an economic viewpoint, how can you argue with money in the bank from service fees that roll in his first season using this year? He's done his job. He's won his 2 Group 1s. He's nearly at the head of the peloton of the 3-year-old crop. So it's interesting, and I agree with what you say. Like we made a conscious effort to try and make sure that he maintained as that fitness and be as fit as he could be for those first up runs.
Yeah. So that was probably one of the heights, you'd say, from your early career of being more in charge of the whole situation yourself. Yeah. How did you deal with the first loss of a horse like Norzita?
Very badly. I found that really hard to cope with. I was at Wyong, and the horse we announced the day before. It was just about the day we'd announced it. I was at Wyong. So it would have been the following, a few days later. And and Kevin Moses is standing there with John O'Shea, you know, and he says to me, "You lost your good horse." And he said something like, you know, I'll paraphrase him a little bit, but he said, "Mate, that's the game. There's more downs than there are ups in the game, and you know that's just what you're going to have to live with." And you know, it's a good game, and it's been really good to the family, and you can't beat yourself up over it, and you can't get too down on those moments. But you know, she had like a Group 1 in the bag. 2 starts later, she'd have been winning at George May. You know, she'd have, well, put it this way, she'd have been starting very, very, very short in the market. On the back of her
she's
return,
a very promising horse.
on the back of her return, she'd run so well at Warwick Farm. You know, and I think to myself, what if we just sat out that carnival and just waited for the autumn the following year? She'd done a good job. What if we did this? What if we did that? At the end of the day, she was having a very light piece of exercise on the Thursday before the 1400 second up. She was ready to go. Bowman booked. You know, Bowman said to me after she ran first up at Warwick Farm that day, it was very firm, the track. But he said to me, "James, I've never been so excited about a horse running third in my career." That's how good she went to run third.
So that helped.
That's what's the dangling carrot for me as a first season trainer, and you got to deal with it, you know. And thank God for us, we had Eurozone in the pipeline. You know, we had Shamalia in the stable. We had precedence about to win a Moonee Valley Cup. That makes it a little bit easier to take, and you know, you've got to focus on the job at hand.
Yeah. Just on, so we'll go back to training. Like you said, you can be not hard on the horse, but you didn't go too soft. One thing that I think the stigma with Bart was he always used to let his horses race fit. It was like a stigma of the stable, where now we're saying you are winning with a lot, like first up with a lot of these horses. Is that something that you've talked about and changed? Or is that just the stable evolving to try and keep up with the way racing's going, or? Yeah,
in some respects, yes. But in all the time I've been here working with Bart, you know, I can remember he would tell me to work a horse hard, and I would say to him, I would be the one holding back. And I would say to him, "Bart, are you sure you want to do that with that horse?" And he would say, "What are you talking about? It's running next week." And I would say, I would use this line, "Bart, it's only first up. It's only 1400 first up, you know, there's races ahead of it." And he said, "So what?" He said, "We're going to win first up, but we're going to win everything else." and he said, "What are you talking about, you idiot?" And I'd say, "Well, hang on, you're Bart. Everyone knows you just race them into fitness." And he said, "Bullshit," you know, he like slams the paper on the desk, and he says, "We're going to have it fit." So Kuta Kalari, a week out from the Canberra Guineas, he's having me working the horse over 1400 metres on the track here, and I'm thinking, what are we doing this for? Anyway, the horse wins first up 1400 metres because he might have allowed the myth maybe to grow. He might have through people that worked for him maybe in the past, or people that were doing the hands-on work when he wasn't quite there all the time, maybe helped propagate the myth. But it's not what he truly believed. You know, it's not what he wanted out of his horses. He wanted his horses with that half-inch less fat on them. He wanted his horses to be fit when they got to the races first up. But you know, they're just some of the things I've experienced with him over the years that might have just caught me by surprise, because I expected that what everyone told me was the truth, you know? And even I was approaching it in that respect. And I was his foreman, so if the stable didn't train a winner all season, after John Thompson had just been settling out winners for him, well, how does that make me look? You know, no one's going to be blaming Bart, so the pressure's on me as a foreman. And not many other foremen in my position would have had, not many other foremen in any stable would have that sort of pressure. I mean, everyone wants their horses to go terrific, don't get me wrong, but I just wonder whether that would put me in a different, under a different spotlight than I would be if I was the foreman for Peter Snowden. No one's going to be blaming me. You know,
it's a different.
It'd be on Peter. Like, no one blames Gay. It's on Gay. You know, anyone other than Gay, it's on Gay. So, you know, I learned that fairly early on with him, and now that I am there all the time, maybe that's what he's taught me is filtering through. So I would still have to, you know, pay my respects to him and say, you know, that's what he actually trained me to do, but we're just probably doing that better than ever now that we're working together.
Okay. Well, we've met up with a couple of stables. We've talked about horse racing, the business. The Gay Waterhouse, their philosophy, they've said they're a bit of a shoot for the stars. Like you get a horse with Gay, like we're throwing everything in them for the $40 million sale. That's that. Well, Waller had that perception of there's lots of racing, lots of fitness. Like, you know, they dominate those races, so they seem to be a business that is successful on prize money. What we see, like, obviously the Guri connection, the Dardo connection as well. Where is James Cumming racing? Where's it going?
What's the ethos? What's
the goals for the season?
Are you like always looking for owners, or are you happy with what you've got, like with the connections?
Look, first and foremost, our gate's always open. We're always really looking for new clients, and I think I really love having a new set of colours go around for the stable.
Yeah,
I actually take pride in it.
Many,
you know, if Duncan comes out and watches track work on Tuesday morning with me, and he's seeing his horses like Glitcher that raced today go past, and he's looking at his his horse Precedence trot past. And then he says to me, well, what's that horse there? And I say, oh, well, that horse is Dennis Lowe's horse. And he'd say, well, who's Dennis? I say, oh, Dennis is a guy I met in Melbourne. He's a client from Asia, and he wanted to have a horse with us, you know. And I take pride in that, because to me that's saying that people are taking notice of what we're doing and they want to be a part of the culture here. And I'd like to think that we've got a really positive culture. We've got a lot of young staff. That's a good mixture of, you know, experience and youth and enthusiasm. And we have won stakes races from 1,100 metres to 2,500 metres, you know, in 2 years. So we're really trying to diversify our talents and our horse pool talent. But, you know, at the end of the day, I think probably Bjorn would say a similar thing, that owners come into the game for different reasons. And I think you've got to be prepared to cater to those reasons. And I think one of the good things about a young trainer is that if you want to have a horse with me and you tell me that you want to be the one to pick the jockey, that's fine. It doesn't worry me too much. I can give you my advice, but I would enjoy seeing you being involved in the decision. Just in the same way you would be a part of a club somewhere and you become involved in the culture there. So I think there's a lot to be said for being involved. I think there's a lot to be said for, you know, ringing up and saying, look, I you know, this horse got trapped deep outside the leader last start. I know it's going to be hard to do, but we want to ride the horse all the way back to last. Are you happy with that? You know, we talk it through before the race. So there's that element of, you can look bad, you can have egg on your face, but at least there's that interaction. And there's a culture there that's really important.
Was that something Bart would have done?
Well, look, Bart grew up in a really different... You got to, like, we can't forget that Bart grew up in a completely different time. Bart grew up when there weren't, you know, there wasn't the sort of access to sectionals. You know, you didn't have interviews with trainers every week at the track, or, you know, or jockeys. And I just wonder whether, you know, Bart was in a position where he would get himself into more trouble doing that than good. And so people like Bart and TJ and Colin, they all did that. They all were much more introverted in the way they ran their business, and their owners would know their horses racing because they picked up the form guide. And they would know how their horse looked when they saw it at the races. So it's a different era, big time. And like even something as simple to us as a filmed barrier trial. Like, how many years has that actually been happening?
Exactly.
Something to us like you can click on a link now and watch a replay.
It's not up
you can watch a replay of a Gosford race, but you can also watch a replay of the horses 2 barrier trials at Hawkesbury, and we're blowing up if it's not up there, or if they've put the wrong video there. You know, years ago, if you didn't send someone to go and film the trials,
you wouldn't have seen it.
You wouldn't have known it. So you would imagine 12 horses turned up at Canterbury. Well, this one, TJ trains, it's by Redute's choice, well bred, so it should go well. Well, it means nothing. It means nothing to you guys. It means nothing to me as an opposing trainer. And now you get to the point where jockeys can come out and they can say, look, I expect, you know, Brenton to be there. I expect Hugh to be there. James McDonald will be about there. So if I can just be there, then that'd be perfect. And some people who are new to the game say, oh, should he know all that? Are they all inside there colluding? And they're not. They're just doing their research.
They're doing
their
form. That's right.
So I reckon if those jockeys talk like that 20 years ago, you know,
it's a different ball game.
Trainers would be tempted to walk in and say, hey, you know, pull these blokes in. They're all talking in there. There shouldn't be going on.
And just on the form, you can. That's all right.
It's live.
No, it's not live.
Live but edited.
Hello.
Hi.
Good. And just on the form,
Yep.
What goes in? How's your stable plan a campaign, plan a race? Is it just yourself looking at it? Do you have some people that you use?
Yeah, like coming to a race day, like say tomorrow or last week, you had the 2 runners around the Cornello. Looking in that race, you did the form yourself?
Yeah, so that race I did do a fair bit of the form. Like, you know, you investigate, like David Van Dyke's horse had won in the country. You know, he'd taken him to, I think, Port Macquarie before he took him to Scone.
Yep.
And you see the way the horse is ridden, you know the horse is going to be handy and drawn relatively well. But, you know, the difficulty there is, you know, just because a horse lobs first in one race, another horse lobs first in their race, they could be worlds apart, as you both know. Like, I don't have to point that out, but one could be crawling the first bit and the other one could be going lickety split. So
for sure.
Those things are not our forte. We're trainers, you know. We're busy training our horses from 3:45 in the morning. Then about 9 o'clock onwards, we got 30 staff that, you know, one got paid an hour less last week and the other one wants a pay rise and the other one wants to ask for leave and can we go away here, but we might be a bit short staffed there. Yeah. So you can imagine the other one, you know, we've got to look after their workers' compensation, and this is all part of running a business, you know. We've got to staff work really hard, so I've got to give them my attention, and we've got to, like the whole office has got to keep doing that. So we've got to do that, and then we've got to collect our bills and invoice our clients and make sure the bills look right and, you know, everything's accounted for. Now we've got to speak to our vets and we've got to go through our vet work. So by the time we've done all this, right, when have we had the time to pick up the sportsman? Like the sportsman now on my desk on Tuesday afternoon, it still looks crisp. Yeah. You know?
Yeah, exactly.
I haven't turned a page yet. Yeah. But luckily I've got no runners tomorrow because I ran both those horses today. Yeah. But one of the things that does make it easier is having the videos online. Yeah. Now I used to talk to a form student and paid him. We would go through the form, so he would talk to me, and I do find not that I'd ever be distrusting, but I do find it interesting that now stewards are wondering whether those guys should be licensed. I don't know what your thoughts on that are.
Yeah, no, there's jockeys that are sort of teamed up with punters because they're in a similar boat as you. They feel like they're not across the form as well as a punter who can tell them about form and horses to track up. To me, that's just giving yourself the best chance to win a race.
So I always found it interesting. Like I talked to Peter, and he would always be very good. We would talk a race right through, but you know, if I had a first starter and, you know, no one really knows how we're going to ride the horse. There's no established pattern, which is another point I'd be interested in your opinion on. If I want to be clever and I think I can outsmart the opposition that's a short price favourite, and we can come to a plan that might be superior to their plan. Well, if I'm speaking to a form student that's speaking to 2 other jockeys riding in the race and another trainer that's got another runner in the race, well, it sort of undermines my ability to
have the edge.
You know, but at the same time, he would give really good information and he would give me something that I didn't have the time to do myself. He would clock all my horses. He would tell me how my horses trialled. He would tell me how they raced. If it ran 4th, did it run well? If it won, did it run well? Because there's plenty of times where the horses have gone pretty ordinary, but they've run top 2. You know. So if you can't be aware of that and you just take it for granted that a horse that finishes in the top 2 raced well, then you probably don't give yourself the best opportunity to learn about how the horse is best.
It's very different. Horses can run last and be good runners.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, it's quite tricky. Very tricky.
Jimmy James, yeah.
So on that, I got pulled aside by a punter there at Jack's Cafe at 4 o'clock in the morning yesterday morning. On the way to the track, and he's still convinced that a certain race at Canterbury that has been investigated, I don't think thoroughly yet, but I think there's been an inquiry already. That he's convinced it's a one-goer, you know? He said, it looks bad for racing. Well, the horse that won by 5 lengths. So when I said to him, the horse that won, it doesn't matter how my horse was ridden, that horse was going to win. And he said, that's not the point. But, you know, I had this argument with him about, you know, he believes that I should have said to the stewards, well, I'm going to ride the horse differently. The horse was still settled in the first 3, and the horse had only had 3 race starts in its career. And it had settled in the first 3 in 3 race starts. But he's convinced the horse should have led, you know. But if you watched our horses, we don't drive the ears of our horses every time they go around.
Yeah.
So I made that point to him.
Yep.
That's about.
You're not a stable renowned for leading.
That, yeah, and so that's about like the style of it. Like if I was Guy Walter, you would know that the horse is just going to go back and it's going to be doing its best work like nearly every time. And you know, I made that point to him. Well, maybe we should do away with this rule that we have to declare our intentions, because it wouldn't be for the first time that if my horse did settle midfield or worse, all that would happen was I would be pulled in. And sometimes trainers have been fined, but I don't think they've been fined much in the past. I don't know, maybe you could research that.
Not too much.
Or I would tell you that the horse is going to be ridden more aggressively, but because the opportunity presented to my jockey to keep the favourite 3D, he decided not to roll forward and to stay where he was, to give myself the best advantage. And when I saw that happen, I, you know, like the owners, they thought, oh, well, if the favourite's deep, that it gives us an advantage, so we're happy about that. Or the third thing is, you know, I blatantly get it wrong as a trainer, and I say the horse is going to be ridden with cover, and it goes straight to the front, pulls its head off, and you're better off without it.
Yeah, no, I think the problem about having to change the tactics for Allaire is that if you don't follow to the letter of the law, racing looks bad for it, and horses can do things and you can't predict it. So a lot of punters that we speak to would love the rule to just be done away with.
Another big problem with Sydney racing is A, because we've got the small fields, but B, a lot of people know the speed map, they kind of jump and go to the speed map, and they just kind of go slow or plot into position and then they sprint home. And it makes for kind of uncompetitive racing. Well, you look at Hong Kong, where they go hell for leather. They let go.
They do.
So when we watch Hartnell race to the world, that was exciting. And I think that's what, like you said, it's something we need to bring back in the Sydney racing. Get that excitement. So
in Hong Kong, do they have to declare tactics?
Yeah, I think it's all out in the open. I'm sure it is, but
I've just never heard them declare tactics whenever I flick them on.
Yeah, we'll do some research, and that can be a story for us next week, comparing Hong Kong tactics. Just before we finish up, you touched on jockeys and what jockeys suit horses. How should a punter look at one of your horses when it's ridden by jockey X compared to jockey Y?
Oh, look, I think that Blake Shin is a jockey that is as good as any jockey in the world at getting a horse to hit the ground running. And he's fantastic at having a horse give nearly everything it's got, nearly like just about on the bit, and he barely needs to pull the whip, you know. So I think for a horse that's going to be aggressive, I would definitely like to have Blake on it. And I think Hugh Bowman is the sort of jockey that fits with nearly all our horses. You know, I think he's a sort of go-to rider for us. I think he's ridden a lot of our good horses to great success, and I think he's got the right personality for it, and we get along very well. So we sort of see eye to eye, and he's prepared to tell me if he thinks that I've made a mistake, or he's prepared to give me a confident view if he trials a horse for me, or he even rides a horse that doesn't run up to scratch. And you know what? He's also got the ability to say he's not sure. If he's literally not sure. Because if a jockey rides 8 horses on a day, they can't get off and give 8 100% accurate assessments. It's not. If they were, they'd be running the stock market and they'd be smarter than the ASX. So I think that he can get off a horse and say, oh, you know, I can put something in. He say, oh, look, I'm not sure. I don't know. I'll think about it, or I'll leave that one to you. You know. And recently, Glyn Schofield has been riding with the stable to great combination. Guys like Glyn Schofield and Tim Clark, they ride a bit of track work for me, and you know, Adrian Lade at the Provincials, and Taylor Marshall's just coming back from overseas. But I like that they ride track work. I like that they get a feel for a horse, that they know a horse. They are forgiving of a horse that might be green if they've ridden a track work. They know it's got ability, but it's not 100% wound up, or you know, hasn't got a perfect understanding of racing.
Has got the race sense.
Hasn't got that race sense, is the phrase I was looking for. So I think that sort of empathy from the jockey is really good, and so if they ride our horses track work, then I think they're advantaged on our horses. And Glyn's very good as a quiet rider too. Glyn's got a great ability to get the timing right and to get a horse to switch off that isn't the easiest horse. And I think the way he rode Tempt Me Not, I said it to him, you know, he's been able to get that horse to switch off whilst travelling 4th or 5th in the run,
Yeah.
which is something nearly no other jockey's been able to do. Like not even Hugh could get her to do that when she raced last prep, and that's taught that horse. I hope that's taught that horse a lot, because that means when we race the horse again and we draw soft again, we don't have to be 4 pairs back the fence.
Yeah.
And we're in a terrible position for a horse that's got a brilliant finish. So, you know, pretty lucky that we've got such good jockeys, and we can use these sort of like the names I'm dropping are able to
jump through them,
ring their managers and get them on horses. And there's so many horses going around, but you know, there's also that element in Sydney racing that jockeys are now getting booked for races. They're not getting booked for horses.
Yeah.
So for me, who has maybe on average 4 to 6 starters a week, it's very hard when I've just identified a race. Now this is a race with a horse that I'd really like to win, and the jockey does that work with the horse or trials that horse. Then the jockey I want is booked for the race and may go without a ride if that stable doesn't accept with every horse, or accepts with 4 and scratches 3.
Yeah, it becomes
tough. It becomes very hard to get that horse, and I don't think that's going to be addressed, because I think that's probably too difficult an issue to address. But that's one of the reasons why Sydney racing is probably one of the hardest circuits there are. But equally, you know, entertaining, exciting, and it's good to be a part of it. It's good to push yourself and challenge yourself to be, you know, in the deep end.
Yeah, excellent.
I think we've done well.
I think we have.
All right.
And just one more for the punters. Is there anything young horse for the punters to look out for? Something you're exciting?
Oh, well, so not a tip. You'll say, if it was a tip, I'd say Burning Passion next Wednesday, you know?
Yeah. Oh, there you go, Burning Passion
Burning Passion next Wednesday, yeah.
But is there a horse you're a little bit excited about moving forward? Have you got any nice young ones or something like that?
Yeah, well, look, Sultry Feeling looks like she could be in for a good prep. I know she's 4, so you're probably looking for something a little bit more, you know, a little bit less exposed.
That's
but
fine.
She's racing this Saturday. I'm pretty excited about her return.
Yeah.
I would really seriously love it if Ruling Dynasty ended up becoming, you know, a really solid top line handicapper, handicap stayer. But you know, of the unraced horses, I would be remiss not to say that there's a unraced filly there called Set the Limit that will be racing very shortly, and she's seems imbued with more than her fair share of ability.
There we go.
We haven't had the word imbued on our show.
Mark
That one was for you, Mark.
James, thanks for joining us on Racing Extra.
Thanks a lot.
Alright, that was James Cummings. Just remember, our feature tournament of it's not the year, of the month is the Memsey this week. Jump in, $550 buy-in. The last guy who won, Shwezwenko, I think his name was, Shwezwenko, his username. I think he picked up about $15,000 cash, and his wedding was on that weekend, so...
Nice little wedding present.
So Shweza, or whatever you call yourself, well done, mate. You'll be coming back in and take on the Glenster, you'll probably be in there. I'll be in there.
I'll be in there. We've got a lot of Sydney horses down in Melbourne this week, so I'll be definitely having a little look around, take the blinkers off.
Lovely. And look, this morning you caught up with Dallas in Circular Quay, and you did a little mounting yard review from Saturday.
Thank you, Aaron, and thank you, Matt. Hello.
You're welcome.
Lovely old mate here walking past at Circular Quay here. We can find a location. Aaron, very interesting, as it always is at this time of year, very interesting from the mounting yard point of view on Saturday at Royal Randwick. Lots of things to talk about, really.
Yeah, it's exciting. I think what we saw this week we'll see again in 2 weeks, and it'll be good to see where a lot of those horses make that gradual improvement, who goes in leaps and bounds and who's making that slow transgression into spring.
Well, when you say leaps and bounds, the first few races of the day were, I think I might have mentioned on the Pro Better Live chat room, it was almost like it was let's have a bad day out for most horses parading. It was very underwhelming for what you had in your head and factored in beforehand, what you were going to see. We'll start off using case in point. Sebring Sung and Voliere, and even Shards, the winner of the race. Sebring Sung, in my opinion, had gone backwards. Voliere probably had gone forward, but you wanted to see it go forward a little bit more. And Shards was looking well in itself, but for a 1,300 metre first up, you thought, you wanted to probably see a little bit more as well too.
I don't know, I was a little bit different here on that race. That was the one where I kind of thought Sebring Sun was knowing the way that Portelli had him first.
Yeah, not surprised, but it's still, I mean, when you're looking at the collection of them and they've all generally not where you want, you just go, yeah.
I do think the one thing with Shards though, he was a horse that always, in my opinion, looked like he wanted for that, and I think that's as forward as we're going to see a John O'Shea horse first start.
Well, they continue. I suppose that's one of the things is we're continuing to see them be very, very soft first up.
Well, when he first took over,
Not very soft, but softer than you probably softer than you'd expect.
And when he first took over, I think Rick could have had him just going ripped.
Yeah.
Had him forward down at the race, and I think they kind of sat him down and said, "Look, we don't do things this way. We're a breeding operation." Then he went from having him too fat to now he's starting to just find.
Well, you know what? I'm going to say jury out on it, and I suppose we'll find out whether that process is right as we get deeper into the carnival to see if they have successes down. Might work, might not. I don't know. But anyway, well, at the end of the day, Shards.
We're going to start seeing from
Shards won the race. We're getting the perfect run in a race that looks a pretty low form race. But Voliere, we mentioned it a few times. It did come on. Really got to go back to not trialling this horse has cost it. Maybe even 2 races.
Possibly 2 races.
So
he finally looked ready to win a race. With still more improvement.
Well, more improvement, yeah.
But he looked well enough
for
to
a horse of his ability. It should have been ready to be win first, second, third races because it ain't going to win the Golden Rose.
No, it's not going to win the Golden Rose.
So if it's going to be fit on that day, well, you've missed the boat. Yeah. Anyway, and Sebring's son, bye-bye.
Well, I think everyone saw him as this was his luck. He could win. He was there. He was there to win, but there was going to be his last chance of probably winning it.
Probably right. But I mean, if they run the same horses again, all that sort of stuff. But as far as progressing through, don't expect it. Race 2 again. Echo Gal. Flatlined, if anything, maybe even gone a little bit further, gone a bit back.
I think the day she won was as right as they've had.
Right as she had, and she wasn't quite,
She looked gay, Rip, but maybe that's just her shape now. Maybe that's the way she is.
Yeah, but I think she did look better 2 weeks ago than she did on Saturday.
Of course she did, and maybe she peaked that day.
And the betting suggested that.
The betting suggested that.
Yeah, Wine Tails. Again, improved, but we probably expected to see her more improved. Should have won the race, obviously, but
should have won the race.
But we probably factored in more improvement than we saw from her.
Yeah, I think Chris was dirty that she didn't win, so I think he's looking for some sort of black type race somewhere in the carnival. So she's obviously going to improve from the run.
Yeah, lovely. So I think the case in point there, unlucky. She's going to be super well found next start, but
that's right.
But there's more improvement than you probably expect. Amicus was. Okay, first. I mean, look, she won the race on the back of a perfect Hugh Bowman ride from the perfect spot. She was good in herself first up, but hardly ribs.
No, she's hardly ribs. She kind of just trialled well both times, just typical
Waller. Yeah, probably a half a notch more forward than a Waller horse.
Yeah, half a notch.
Yeah, okay, cool. All right, race 3. I suppose the 2 key ones were Fell Swoop and Music Magnate. Your thoughts on that?
I thought he kind of Fell Swoop. He looked similar, but he kind of looked a bit dull.
Not as good as Rosehill. He was another one. This continuing thing with the start of the day, where you look at it and go, and I think my comments were, everything's okay, but I'm not feeling warm and fuzzy taking 2s on. I mean, it was
if you're
2s on
$1.60.
No, you want perfect.
And I think the perfect peach ride from Blake Shin was what won him the race.
Well, I think combined with the fact that Music Magnate was too far out of play, you had bad position in run versus perfect position in run, and those 2 forces. Yeah, I think you want to see more than that. I think our comments in the yard are probably right in that, because you want to see more than that from a $1.50 chance, or $1.60 chance. That's Music Magnate.
He looked fine. He looked furry.
I don't ever worry about furry though.
Yeah, but a lot of the time he's still not right in his coat. He had a lot of improvement in him, I thought. Yeah. And I still don't. I think coming back this time, I don't think 1,000 metres is going. He'll improve stepping up and trip.
Definitely.
But he'll be ready to win next start.
Yeah, he's I think as we used the expression on the Punters show earlier in the week, the trainers left the station. That's pretty much what it was. Okay, race 4, Nick Ashman.
Well, this was one horse there was a sprint behind her. There was a huge sprint, and she trialled like she was going to be fit. I thought she paraded rather fit. It was the first. I think your comment on the day was, it's a Gay Waterhouse horse presented like a Gay Waterhouse horse. Yeah. She's obviously going to still have improvement from the run, but I wouldn't say there's a dramatic improvement in fitness-wise.
No. Well, I think the key to her was that in her numbers, and I suppose it was there for all to see, was that she was a little bit weak late, and she had strengthened up, and so she looks to have had. That's probably added that strength to her just in itself.
3 lengths.
Yeah, to be able to win that race rather than get run over. Lake Geneva,
continuing this.
Well,
walks.
well, at least I haven't written Himalaya's Dream's name down. At least it paraded the same way as it did previously. So we all saw it and said no, thank you. But this horse, whilst you've seen better parading horses, had progressed from Hawkesbury. I wasn't at Hawkesbury, according to Glenn. He thought it improved a couple of lengths. Looked fine in the yard, looked well enough to go, and just went awful.
Yeah, went awful.
It just,
for me, I have no idea what's going on at the camp, but something's obviously not right. I don't know, there's a virus going through there, but their horses aren't overly looking well.
No, they're looking awful. They're racing awful.
And they're looking, Hawks have always been renowned for having some of the best parading horses.
Yeah, that's right.
They always present them perfect, and their horses aren't looking pristine.
No, they're just, whatever it is not going. And Kangaroo Road.
Joy?
Kangaroo Joy, Can never get it. Yeah, Kangaroo, whatever it's called. It's still got an improvement up its sleeve.
It's not even right in the coat. Like the day it won, it looked okay. Like, it looked fine for a first up horse, but she looks like she's still growing into the body. I think she kind of just looks a bit walky.
I said to you, she's sort of got that length to her. Is she going to be a stayer?
I think she'll be a horse that gets her to at least a mile, possibly further. She probably needs to settle a lot more before she goes.
But she
has that shape of a horse that could get over ground.
Probably needs a little bit of time off and come back.
Yeah.
Race 5, Spider Coda was well backed. He paraded like he normally does first up, and he goes a lot better deeper in his preparations than he does first up as a rule. I mean, I know it wasn't James McDonald's best ride.
Yeah. That was probably for me, the strangest ride of the day. He's out the back last, forward with that cover, and just still kind of trucked into the race well at the end. My only query with the horse is, like Anthony Cummings probably set it for an Epsom now or something.
Yeah, that's right.
So you can try and find it in a similar style race to this.
Yeah.
He'll be fit enough to win next time, as long as he finds a similar race
I
to
think
this.
for the point of this discussion, which we're talking about from the yard, he's got lengths improvement in him from what he saw. I mean, he was good, but he's not. It was by no means screwed down.
No.
Okay, race 6, obviously the main race of the day for Resume. Let's just go through him. Pornichet looks geez, he's a nice horse, isn't he?
Oh, he's a nice horse. He was one that actually, you knew he'd come off a short break. He had the trials. I thought he looked quite fit.
Yeah.
I thought he looked quite well.
Out of the big guns, he was probably the most wound up.
He's the most wound up, and a lot of people thinking, that's why he's going to win. Well, I think the thing come back, he's a bit more dour now, because she has ran the work into it. He's got a target. He's looking for distance. They probably wait till he gets to a mile plus before.
But nice horse.
But he's nice horse, looks well, and he's going places as long as he stays sound.
We've seen it improve 6 lengths, but he's only got another 16 to go.
Yeah. There's always going to be a big task second up off a long break.
And especially how big he was first up. I mean, he looks closer to a racehorse now. He looked more elephant first up than he did racehorse, but this time he looks closer to it. You'd think he'd be almost ready to go next time. But then again, how do you bet with confidence with that team?
Yeah, I agree.
It's somewhat...
John O'Shea got on the radio in the morning and said it's not as forward as it was last time.
And looking at it, I agree.
And he was 100% on it.
Yep.
First coming, he looked alright, and I thought, and the longer he stayed in the yard, by the time he went through that tunnel and going on track, he was just sweating, he was a lather of sweat, and he was really...
He knew he wasn't ready,
He knew he wasn't ready, and you could tell he was fat. He was fat, and getting caught wide early didn't probably help him.
No, exactly right, but still, again, we'll...
he looks a nice horse with progression.
No,
but he was fat, he had a lot of progression. I thought the horse that from their stable looked complacent. It was the one that looked like he did have it.
It's always been a very nice looking horse. I mean, like it's starting from a very good base of being a very attractive looking horse. So I mean, look, he got that. Did he get a half a bump there with Babiro dying?
It got completely run off.
That's right. He got run off the track.
For him, it's kind of just a complete forgive run, first run off 2 years old.
Yeah, still. Anyway, Kermadec, favourite of ours, looks to have come back as, there was obviously improvement. Sort of thought he was probably close enough to run well first up, but...
I think he's close enough to run well, but the race never panned out for him. He was inside, he was caught up. He had the slower horses coming back into him, and everyone expected Zaratan to go fast. They didn't go fast.
No.
Even Bjorn coming to be at the end of the race, and Kathy kind of didn't make them work.
No, well,
and they just those 4 horses, but they always ended 4 horses.
1, 2, 3, 4.
And he had too much to do from where he was.
It's as good as his return. He looks great. He's going to improve lengths. Whether he wins the next start or the time after, I'd say whatever his goal is,
He's going to be hard to beat.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And we're all decent. I think a lot of people thought that she was going to be screwed down and aimed at these races because obviously often the bridesmaid and never the bride. But mate, I've seen her resume probably now half a dozen times, and every time she looks the same. So she was no different.
I thought she looked a little more but you know what I think she's come back this time? A bit bigger.
Oh, well, she's getting
she's
older.
actually filled out a little bit more into herself.
Yeah, well,
and that could have been because we both kind of looked and went, is she like you weren't 100% sure. I think she's a little bit stronger.
Yeah, but as far as fitness-wise, I think it's pretty much the same. And you know, I mean, look, she hasn't been far off these races, and then as you mentioned, she had landed in the right spot, perfect Hugh Bowman ride and won because she was in the perfect spot. So she's probably just gone as good as she's gone first up every other time. And you got to remember, like, you know, her resume is pretty good. She's got, if you remove about 3 or 4 B sticks, she's a multiple Group 1 winner at the highest level. Yeah. In serious races, serious Group 1s.
The other horse, Gust of Wind, I thought he paraded well. I thought he hit the line well. I think once she gets out to a trip, she'll be winning her race.
Okay, all right, lovely. Okay, and then going to race 7, Countryman. What an interesting parading horse this has been. Like, with Gay Waterhouse, it's actually probably held its level at Rosehill the week before, and then it's just gone backwards on the back up.
He's a bit like the horse we saw before. He kind of looked like he peaked that day. Yeah. And he's just slowly tapering off.
Well, I thought that day he still had plenty of improvement.
Well, he kind of looked like that. Yeah. It's really funny, and
then just went. And you looked at him last week at Rosehill. Thought, oh, okay, all right, okay, he's still the same. You haven't lifted, and then last week, then on Saturdays, no, let me right out. Vashka, I think most people expected to be revved right up again. Another John O'Shea horse first up that was.
Well, he got on the radio and he pretty much backed horse run. He's probably only just right because he almost did win. It wasn't far off.
Yeah.
It had improvement. He said it'd have improvement. He said once it gets 1,400 metres plus, that's where he gets into his element. He rolls along, and that's what he does. So he was 100% in what he said. He paraded the way he said it would, and looks so good. I thought that
a lot of improvement. Yeah, exactly. I thought from the trials, I thought it'd be one of the more revved up O'Shea horses of the day, but that wasn't. It just goes to show you can't make assumptions until you got to have a look at it.
Yeah, the funny thing with those trials is they can be, if they are horses with ability, and they do walk early in those trials, they can sprint. You know yourself, even when you're not fit, you can go for a short sprint, and they do it at the trial. So yeah, it's an interesting game.
Yeah, love it. All right, mate. Okay, well that's the wrap up. Hopefully, it gives you some pretty good information about how these horses presented early in their preparations and how much they've got up their sleeve.
Looks for an interesting car.
Absolutely.
Aaron, thanks for that, mate. And there you are. And there we go. That's the mounting yard review. Let's talk about the barrier trials. Now we've had Randwick and we've had Hawkesbury. What have you seen?
Well, one thing Dallas and I had a discussion on the show about. He's got a close eye on the blue colours and seeing how they've come back. So he's got a couple of little theories, and he's very interested to see if they can live up to the Spruik.
Yes.
What I'm seeing at the barrier trials is they are very much going to live up to the Spruik and exceed the Spruik. I think Hartnell is just, his trials are just exceptional. The horse is flying. He's super impressive. He looks exceptionally fresh. I think I wouldn't be surprised. I think he's going first up Chelmsford here. And I'll be surprised if he doesn't win off his trials. If he parades quite forward, which sometimes they can be misleading because they do go slow early, but his trials have been exceptional. I'm expecting him to race well, fresh, and being first up at the mile, I'll be pretty surprised not to see him finish in the first 3.
Yeah, it was one of the best trials you'll ever see. So have a look if you haven't seen it.
Yeah, it's very impressive to the eye. He just looks to be flying, and whatever they say, I think he could be the next big thing in Australian racing.
Yeah, the last horse from Darley, from Godolphin, that trialled really well, I thought was, what was the name of it? The one that ran first up the other day. Holler?
No, Holler's coming up. It's trialled well.
Haptic?
Oh, Haptic, yeah.
Haptic,
third? Yeah, he ran 3rd.
Okay. I don't want to talk about that. Forget it. Stupid point. I was going to say that the horses that seem to be trialling well, the last one was Haptic, ran a pretty good race.
Yeah, ran a pretty good race. All right.
No, forget that. Are you doing Hawkesbury or not?
No, I'm going to continue. Another horse that we've seen at the trials is Arabian Gold. No longer with Dickey, now with Gay.
Right. Did you hear how that happened or why?
Yeah, it was just due to, she was a mare, she went through the broodmare sales.
Okay.
And they obviously want to continue the race with her.
The owner wanted to sell it,
Yeah, the owner sold her, or sold an interest in her, definitely.
Okay.
And she's with Gay now. She seems to be keeping the same racing pattern from the trials that we've seen. but she looks to be absolutely flying. She's one that's always trialled well in the past, so I'm a little bit cautious of her, but God, she just looks to be flying. I don't have a big spruik around with her. Contributor's another one, he's still trialling very well, looks to be going well, and expect him to be at Group 1 standard and just continue on his winning way, I think.
All that stuff, yep.
Another horse, trialling well, English. She trialled exceptionally well the first time. She's trialled well again. I'll be pretty surprised to see her get beat first up in a fillies race.
Okay.
I think she's just really flying. And then just from the Hawkesbury trials on Monday, once again another blue horse. I have spoken about it before, Haraki. I think he's going to be one to follow this prep. It looks like he's made that transition. He's come back a lot stronger.
Yep.
And just not over racing like he was a little bit early in his career.
Did we work out what he's best at? Is he a stayer or is he a miler or is he something even less than that?
Oh, no. I'm not 100% sure exactly where. In my opinion, he's a miler.
Yep.
Like, I think he's a get-back run on miler. That could possibly stretch to 2,000. I don't think 2,400 will be his go. And shorter than that, I think he'll race well fresh. But I do think his go is more so mile to 2,000. That's his bracket.
Okay.
Wouldn't be surprised to possibly see him in an Epsom, but not 100% sure where he's going.
Okay. Sounds
and
good.
one other horse, we've spoken about him before, and just keep an eye on him, is Flamingo Star. He's come back really good this prep.
You're a little bit excited, aren't you?
I'm a little bit excited.
Okay, well that was, but before we sign off on our Wednesday show, Racing Extra, look, just another little reminder, jump into the Memsey tournament this week if you haven't tried one before. Well, it's 550 buy-in, go in yourself, grab, 5 mates or something, throw 100 and something bucks in each, have a little...
Yeah, I've had a few people do that.
Have a lash, it's a great afternoon. You get your better bucks to bet with. You can bet all on one race. You can just hold off until the last. You can trickle it. You can have place bets. So it's great fun.
Yeah, it's good excitement, especially if you don't want to be betting all day. It gives you a way to be betting without spending all your money.
Yep. All right, Az, thanks again for another Racing Extra.
And see you next week.
See you next week.